feel any
life is about choices. Everyone has an opinion.
The debate is always good. Let's chat about it. Let's start.
Nyanbingelela nonke makhaya and welcome to the chat room. Now in life we often have to make choices and some choices are more difficult than others. But what happens when you're faced with making a choice that could potentially change the rest of your life? Abortion or termination of pregnancy has always been a taboo subject in any community. And while some pro-choice advocates say that it is a woman's choice alone, anti-abortionists say it's a decision that you will regret for the rest of your life. Now we're unpacking this contentious issue today in studio. Now, abortion in South Africa was legal only under very limited circumstances until 1st of February in 1997 and was not accepted without controversy. South Africa changed the abortion law in order to improve the health of women and prevent deaths amongst women. It is arguably one of the most significant steps in respecting the rights of women to choice and to bodily integrity. Today on the chat room, we are unmasking and debating the often uncomfortable subject of abortion. Which is more important, the right to choice or the right to life? Now, before we go further in detail with regards to our studio guests, take a look at our insert of Nelly, an 18-year-old scholar.
Chatroom's on.
Let's chat about it. Let's start.
Igama nguNelly nginenkinga yokuthi bengifuna ukubhekana ne-situation yokuthi ngenze abortion cause inkinga engibhekene nazo endlini zokuthi ekhaya angibajabulele indaba yokuthi ngibe pregnant, so like abortion ngeke kube solution ebengiyicabangile. Ngenze abortion before ngitshela abazali because bengicabanga ukuthi banga like angibayenze bakwade ngakhona manje basuke ba react ngendlela bengayilindelanga khona ukukwade bengimalinde ukubakwade mara basuke bakwada ukuthi koza kafika kule extend bengayicabanga. Besiclose endlini besikwazi ukukhuluma bangibona njengengane like bengumntana kubo bangenzela yonke into futhi bangithanda but manje change le konke lokho abasangenzeli bangitshela ukuthi ngoba sengiyakwazi ukwenza umntana kusho ukuthi sengiyakwazi ukuzibheka sengiyakwazi ukuzenzela yonke into, so change kakhulu. Angiyenzanga okuningi oku-wrong but ngiyangaba wrong ukuthi ngilale nomfana ukuthi ngize ngibe pregnant and into engisola ngayo and hayi ukuthi ngiyenze ngoba ngithanda ngamabomu but ngeke kaba imistake eyenzakalayo engathanda ukuthi ngaphindeka futhi or ngisichazile ngayo but yeah. Khona amaphepha laba ahamba abeka around la estradeni ukuthi abortion like yayenziwa at any time pregnancy, so yeah yiwe ngicabanga ukuthi ngaba situation ngenza nge-abortion. Esikoleni yakho ukuthi ngiyeke because my peers ami intanga zami zinaleyo into leyo ukuthi ma pregnant bayahleka yabenza joke ngawe nje, so ngiyangakho ukuthi ngiyeke. Ubaba enganena akaqedanga isikole uyowaseka phakathi akafundi manje. Ibhoni bese ngiyenzile maka njengoba lento ezenzeka endlini angicabanga ukuthi into right ukuthi ngize like ngingaboni ukuthi ngaze ngifike kuleyo bond ukuthi ngize ngijabulele ukuthi khona ibond phakathi kwami nomntana, so nje angiboni kuyinto right ukuthi ngize ngibe naleyo bond nomntana. Angiboni kuyinto right ukuthi kufanele nokuthi azaphile cause ukuqhubeka kwakhe kuba khona emhlabeni sazoba iningi inkinga, sazoba iningi sibhekana nayo. Umama nyangambuza ukuthi noma ngayenza abortion cause ngathi akajabulela ngithi abortion ke mama ngayilungisa nale relationship ngayo besinayo like esinayo ukuthi ibuyele kule fana lasekuqaleni athi noma yini engiyenzayo right as long angithi ngisikhethela impilo engifuna ukuyiphila.
Well, you've heard Nelly's story. Join us after the break when we continue with this discussion. We'll be right back.
Debate is always good. Let's chat about it. Let's start. Debate is always good. Let's chat about it. Let's start.
Welcome back. Today on the chat room, we're discussing abortion. Which is more important, the right to choice or the right to life? Now, you saw Insajaga Nelly before the break sharing her moving story. Nelly joins us in studio as well as our panel of guests. Joining us is Mrs. Newberry from Pro-Life as well as Mrs. Dikiledi Siaka from Hope Church and our psychologist, Miss Alison Moultrie. Welcome to the chat room, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nelly, sisibonile story sakho sis. What are some of the things that are really ezikupressayo ukuthi decide ukuthi lo mntana ufuna ukum-abort?
Oh, okay, ngasho ukuthi first ubhekana nezinto engibhekene nazo manje because ekhaya azange bakujabulele lokho. And nasesikolweni ngingakhosta ukuthi ngicophe out esikolweni ngime kancane ukuthi umntana zabe khona so mina ngathi impilo izoma and ngizobambezeleka depression nanokuthuka because ngibona ngathi kuzoba into ezoba nayo for life yami yonke.
If uyisaba kangaka le responsibility lena, why did you have unprotected sex? Bongazi ukuthi uzoba pregnant?
No, ayikuthi bengazi. I did use a condom but angazi kaya yenzakalani kusho ukuthi maybe zangisebenzisa ngendlela right or yeah.
The relationship with the father of the baby?
Right, but you change after I'm getting pregnant. You are distant kancane.
Are you guys still together?
Yes.
And what does he say about your decision to terminate?
I don't think uzoyijabulela bengakamtsheli.
Oh, guys.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Mrs. Newberry, this is where Nelly is at this point, and she's made a decision based on her reality. What is your take on her situation?
I feel that she probably doesn't understand that that's a little baby she's talking about. You know, in our world today, we talk about terminating a pregnancy, which is the ending of a pregnancy, which is normally ended at a delivery. But the termination of pregnancy, as it's used today, is the killing of a totally innocent little unborn child. And you know, we think because abortion is legal in South Africa, that it's automatically right and moral. But I mean, apartheid was legal. Was it right? Was it moral? You can't legalize something and automatically make it right and moral. So, you know, she needs to really think hard about this because no abortion is safe. Every abortion has a very high risk to the mother as well as killing the baby.
She says that she realizes that having a child is going to change the rest of her life and she's not ready for that change. Is she wrong for making that decision?
Unfortunately, the world today encourages young people to be sexually active and tells them to go along to the family planning clinics when they're not planning families. And of course then it's very dangerous because every single method of family planning except one, and that's one of the oral ones that you use when you open your mouth and say no, that is the only 100% safe family planning method. So when young girls go along to family planning, they get pills and injections and all sorts of condoms which have holes in them, and then they get pregnant. Then of course they offer the option of aborting the baby and encouraged to abort the baby, but they don't get counselling. They don't get told how big the baby is, what the baby's doing, that when the baby's already, when she's just 4 days overdue with her first period, the baby's heart is beating already. They're told it's just a little blob of tissue and it's a money-making racket, come in quickly and go out quickly, and they don't tell them.
Alison, judging on what you're hearing here, and would you say that Nelly's in the right frame of mind to be making such a decision? And if so, how do you get into the right frame of mind to make a decision such as this? Because this is life-changing.
I think the main thing is that to make a decision like this, one really needs a context of support for a young woman. She's at a very vulnerable time right now. There are probably all kinds of pressures on her. And it's very important that she has a space where she can really talk through her issues without being pressurized, where her own point of view is taken seriously, where she's given the space to really think about her future and about that baby, what the options might be, in a way which she can get to a point where she can own her own decision. Because for me, the right frame of mind is where she really is owning her own decision, and hopefully not coming from a place of fear or hastiness.
And how does she get to that point?
You know, we're living in a very imperfect world, and I come from the perspective that we all are just doing our best we can as human beings in an environment where there are all kinds of challenges that we're facing all the time. So I think the best that she can do is own her decision, given a very reasonable assessment of what the circumstances are, what the resources are, what support she may find in the future, what inner resources she may be able to draw on for herself going forward.
Austikele, does the church have space for people like Nelly? I mean, would you support people who want to make a decision like she's trying to make now, or which she's going to go ahead and terminate?
Thank you, Sarah. I think a step back, Hanyan, you know, listening to Nelly as she shares a story as well, it's a decision that she wants to make, irrespective of the pressures or how people have rejected or feel disappointed in her, because the family has not said go and abort the baby. They just expressed their disappointment that she's pregnant. And the church is also a form of family. You know, it's a family on its own. And I believe the main purpose of a church is to restore people. It's not to condemn people fair. If people make mistakes, if people sin, they should know that they can repent and they are forgiven. So the approach from the church first will be that if God forgives people when they confess their sins, they repent. And He says, I will forgive you. And as far as the east is from the west, that's how much God forgives our sins. And I'm saying, it is not a matter of does the church have space. The church has to make space, because that's the kingdom mandate, that when people are going through what Nelly is going through, how do we restore them? How do we help them? Maybe Nelly now is just going through the realities around her own circumstances. And she's thinking now, because she dropped out of school and she would like to go to school. Probably as part of her dreams, 2013 was her year where she knows I'm passing my matric, I'm looking forward to pursue my career beyond matric. But then there's something that happened, and that requires Nelly to take a pause and say, okay, things are not as I thought they would be. I'm pregnant now. What does this now mean? Because that must, in a way, influence the plans that she had originally before she fell pregnant. And the role of the church is to help her through that process.
I think one of the important choices that she could consider is the option of adoption. You know, the option of abortion is not necessarily her only option at this point. So that would certainly, I think, to broaden the range of options that are available to her is very important. And also to, in a way, really sit with what this means, if I can say to you, Nelly, because I realize it's an incredibly difficult situation you're in, and you're worried about your future. And yes, it may have a huge impact on you to be a mother if you're not ready to be a mother. The choice of adoption is also potentially an option. So one immediate question I would have is, have you thought of that, and what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, adoption, no. Bengingacabanga ngayo kahle mara iyafika emqondweni, but ngicabanga ukuthi kuzoba into kumele ukuthi ngilinde ukuthi pregnant iziphele ngize ngithole umntana. But ungabona ngathi ayizongithathela isikhathi.
Okay, sizokhuluma ngale. Let's go for a quick commercial break. We'll delve more into the option of adoption. Okay, please send us your comments and your SMSs. More on this discussion after the break. We'll be right back.
Debate is always good. Let's chat about it. Ascante. Debate is always good. Let's chat about it. Ascante.
Welcome back to the chat room. If you've just joined us, we're talking abortion today. Before the break, we introduced you to Nelly, who is 18 and she's pregnant. She's considering having an abortion, and our panel of guests are trying to help her make an informed decision. We continue with our discussion. Now, before the break, we asked Nelly whether she's considered the option of adoption, and she mentioned that not really. So I think maybe if we can try and help her and find out, because I think she has some fears with regards to that. Let's try and tap into that and maybe give her the pros of considering an option like that.
I'd like to hear more from you, Nelly, about what would your concerns be about adoption?
I want like to have my pregnancy for a full term until birth.
How pregnant are you? How far along are you at the moment?
I'm 26 weeks now.
26 weeks. How
Yes.
many months is that?
It's 7 months.
7 months.
Yes.
Which means you have 2 months left, more or less?
Yes.
Okay. You've been carrying this baby for 7 months already?
Yes.
Okay. What is your concern about carrying the baby for a further 2 months?
Yeah. I think the bond between us won't allow me to do the adoption. Yes.
So you're feeling a bond with this baby
Yes.
already?
Yes, but
Sure. Yes.
yeah, I think ikhona yona mara.
Do you feel it's maybe because of the fact that everyone around you, everyone that's important in your life, abazali bakho, are angry, you are not allowed to embrace that bond?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the first time we admit to Guti, you've got a bond. You're not allowed. You feel like you're not allowed to say that because you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
We must be very proud of her for acknowledging that it's a baby that she's got there, not just a mistake that she can wipe out. And there's no easy solution. You know, getting rid of the baby by having an abortion isn't an easy way out. She's got to live with that memory. Not everybody else around her, but she's got to live with that. And there are people that will help. There are pregnancy crisis centres, there's homes for unmarried mothers, but that obviously she doesn't need at this stage because her family have been fairly supportive. And what I can't understand is...
her family, hasn't been supportive. Her
Well,
family has been angry at her as a result of her being
Well, of course they're
being
angry,
pregnant.
but they're still there for her, if you know what I mean. They haven't thrown her out. Now, the other thing I just wanted to ask was, why did she have to leave school? Did the school make her leave? Did she just leave? Because there's no reason that she needs to leave school.
Bengisaba intanga zami esikolweni. Uthuka intanga zami ngithatha njenga like the bazongibheka ngakhona esikolweni. Ngize esikolweni ngapha pregnant into ezinjalo. Yeah.
It's amazing that we live in a society which says that she must kill her baby and they're happy with that. But if she's keeping her baby and taking responsibility for her actions, they're ostracizing her. There's something wrong with our society.
Something seriously wrong with our society. But what do you say about the fact you would legally, based on the fact that you're 7 months pregnant, you actually cannot have an abortion? So it means if you're going to have an abortion after this, if that's your decision, it means uyenzi backstreet abortion, which is illegal. You do know that.
Yes.
And you know ukuthi ama implications wakhona udlala ngempilo yakho because it's dangerous. You could die. Those are the realities. And when there's something that's very illegal. But yes, learned. Those people who are giving you pamphlets, but at any time ungeza uzo aborta, that's not true because it's not at any time.
No.
At 7 months, there are babies who are born at 7 months, and babies are premature babies. So so umntwana, literally.
Yes.
What can we do now to I mean, in the time that's left? to try and make sure that the family's involved and they are a part of the process, even though they feel the way that they feel, for the benefit of Nelly.
Yeah. I think from what Nelly has shared, I pick up quite a number of things. The peers are the ones who are saying, you know what, the easy way out is terminate the pregnancy. At the same time, Nelly says, I left school because I'm worried what my peers would say again. So the very same people who encourage you to terminate, we are worried about them if I continue with the decision to keep the baby and still go to school. So that's the first, because those are a group of influence, which really, when she said it, these are the people who advises her around the decision that she's making. At home, I think, Nelly, also it's fair to allow your parents to react. Parents have good plans about their children. They have these perfect dreams about us. You know, they are disappointed, and how they've taken the news is not how you expected them. And we must also allow them to go through their disappointment. It might not be the best way they are expressing their disappointment, but you know what? You managed to carry the baby till this far. You've gone so far, you know, and I pick up that you have not done a lot of research to find out what will the implication of my decision if I terminate, particularly now, because obviously a day after, a week after, a month later, your pregnancy keeps on progressing, all right? And that on its own also has an influence on the decision at the end that you want to take.
But I'm also sure that if Nelly shows her family that she's responsible, that she's taken responsibility for the actions, and she's going to be responsible for her baby, she's going to make the best possible life for herself and her baby, I'm sure that her friends will admire her, and her family will be so proud of her.
Thank you. Alison, your final words to Nelly?
Nelly, I think that the situation now at 7 months is very, very different to what it might have been, you know, at 4 or 5 weeks. And I feel for you, because I feel that at this point you maybe have less choices than you would have had at that earlier stage. So my final words are actually an appeal to anyone who is a support or a family of a young woman going through the kind of situation that you're going through, to provide the space for open discussion, to discuss options, to provide real and realistic support, which really looks at what are your choices, what would be the best for you and for your baby going forward. And for peers, if you are a peer of someone in this situation, don't stigmatize them. It could be you in that situation. Being human is such a tough job for all of us, and all we can do is support each other the best we can to walk this road.
Nelly, uzwile ne?
Ngizwile.
Uzoenzani, usistiki lady is also offering ukuthi she can walk this journey with you. And akhulume nabazali bakho in the family. Do you agree?
Yes.
And are you willing to go that route?
Yes.
Okay. We wish you all the best. Thank you everyone for advising not only Nelly, any other woman who's out there facing the same situation. Well, all the best to Nelly. That's the end of our discussion, but our discussion continues on our social network platforms. Please join us again next week for more thought-provoking chat right here on the chat room. From me, Sarah Tabete, and the rest of the chat room team, goodbye and God bless.